So with the new CBA rules kicking in this offseason, this will be the final nail in the coffin of the Big Three era, as teams now who have stars loaded up on their roster, they're going to have very limited options on improving certain mid-level exceptions they're not going to have, and also doing 2-for-1 trades. They're not going to have that ability. And this is going to continue on adding to the parity of the league, just having different teams year in, year out compete on a high enough level. Because with this Big Three era that was pretty much ushered in by the Boston Celtics in 2008, and followed by LeBron James and the Miami Heat in the 2010s, then the Golden State Warriors, and now the Phoenix Suns, it's pretty much led to predictable basketball year in, year out. And as we ushered out into the 2010s, the brand new player archetypes that came into the league with the more versatile big men, along with more 3-and-D players coming out of these drafts, especially among the role players, it's definitely led to a stagnation with teams still using that Big Three formula. And we could see it play out no further than the Phoenix Suns. And throughout the season, we've seen how flawed that roster was from jump, not really having any strong play out of that center position, sometimes having no choice but to put KD in that slot. And the Suns not having Grayson Allen got exposed in the playoffs, as he's really one of their best three-point shooters outside of their Big Three. But in totality, it's the way the Phoenix Suns acquired this roster. The fact that they had to trade for Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, which is something that we really never seen a Big Three in this magnitude actually formulated. The Celtics came close to it as they traded for Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, but that was a different time and era. The league was still in a transitional phase where a lot of role players and secondary players were not as skilled as the players of today. But the Suns trading for Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal pretty much depleted their roster and left them with limited options, as they do have a brand new owner that overpaid for the team, and maybe he was reaching for a way to get more stars on the team to keep up the Phoenix Suns' $4 billion evaluation, which I believe today is actually worth $1 billion less. He kind of overpaid for it. So sometimes there is politics involved, but the trading for Bradley Beal might have been an overreach. And Pat Riley kind of alluded to the Miami Heat, even though they acquired Chris Bosh and LeBron James through free agency, it was still difficult for them to construct a roster around those guys, even with them taking a pay cut. So the Big Three formula, even with an all-time player like LeBron James, does have its limits. And Pat Riley right here gives you firsthand insight to some of those limitations.
And it's not necessarily getting another star. You know, you get another star and then your bench gets weaker, probably. And you do have some financial responsibilities to, you know, the tax and the first apron, the second apron, and all the consequences of going there. And so that's why I say there might be 2 or 3 critical players maybe in this league if they ever became available and we had an opportunity, then there's no doubt that we would go for it, shoot the moon. You know, that's what it is. We've always been that way. But, you know, there were 8 teams in the tax this year. 6 of them are home. Okay? And who is it? Boston and somebody else is playing. Denver, yeah. So going into the tax and going way into the tax to win a championship, you better be damn right about the guy you're going to get, what are you going to give up for him. And so it didn't happen even with the Big Three until we solidified the bench the next year. Yeah.
So right there, Pat Riley is letting it be known, even with a Hall of Famer like LeBron James, the Big Three wasn't solidified until he fixed the bench the following season. I believe you got Shane Battier, Ray Allen, and a couple other shooters in there. I believe Rashard Lewis and others. But let's keep in mind, Pat Riley's a guy who passed up on Bradley Beal. And there was a reason for that. Because at the time, he already understood a guy that's chucking up a bunch of shots in Washington, never making the playoffs, getting paid over $50 million a year with no trade clause, that's a bad deal for an unproven player like that. And sometimes his salary does not justify what he can do on a team, because the Phoenix Suns already had Devin Booker and Kevin Durant taking up all those shots. So out of that $50 million plus that they're going to pay Bradley Beal, there's only one basketball, and he can't really utilize the ball in a way to have his output reflect his salary. So this is where the Suns kind of find themselves in a huge conundrum here. I've always wondered after they acquired him if they plan on jump shooting a team to death, because that offense does nothing but take difficult mid-range jump shots. But overall, it's a good thing that the Big Three era is finally ending, and we can get back to not only the league having more parity, but the actual teams actually constructing different rosters to have different play styles and introduce different dynamics that will play out in a playoff series outside of their main superstars. And we're getting a lot of that this postseason with the Dallas Mavericks, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They have a lot of players outside of their stars that's introducing brand new dynamics that end up swaying the games throughout the series. And this is something the Big Three era was kind of missing, the versatility that makes the game an art form in a way. But every era in the NBA definitely comes to a close, and it looks like we're getting ushered into the era of just more parity, along with teams having deeper rosters filled up with guys that are more versatile, a lot of 3-and-D guys coming off the bench, and just a lot of high-level impact role men. Once again, this postseason, we're seeing this play out with the Minnesota Timberwolves, Dallas Mavericks, New York Knicks, Indiana Pacers, and just not having that depth on the bench is actually exposing certain teams like the Denver Nuggets in the T-Wolves series. Jokic looked like he tired out towards the end, and just dealing with the T-Wolves roster in a 7-game series where they have multiple guys coming off the bench or just multiple skilled role men outside of Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards propelled them past the defending champions. So it is a formula to have a deeper roster, and we could look at teams like the Boston Celtics who've actually applied the same principles by getting insurance policies such as Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday, and you tag that along with some of their developmental guys like Pritchard, you begin to see which direction the league is kind of taking. And hey, if you want to get deeper into it, you could look at the NBA draft. The fact that the second round is its own day is showing you the importance of some of those picks going forward, especially if you can get some of those guys on a cheaper contract and have them come in and pick up a system and play right away. The Denver Nuggets have actually utilized this formula. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for them this season, but they are digging through the second round to find 4-year college player guys who have an understanding of how to play the game in a team concept and can make some impact right away. Another prime example of this is Jaquez in Miami, but a bigger and globalized talent pool requires much adaptation.